Welcome back. So I see that article this morning by Kevin O'Connor at The Ringer, very good writer, where he comes out and says, once Paul George said, get me out of here, it gave Oklahoma City an out to get out of Westbrook's contract. And Billy Donovan couldn't win games in the first round, but Billy Donovan's never been rumored to be fired because I believe the GM, the coach, and everybody was all in knowing Westbrook's a great talent. You can't win long-term with him. Analytically, he doesn't work. He's hard to play with. Chris Broussard via the Coward Global Satellite Network in New York joining us. Broussard, I hear you disagree. You believe that Oklahoma City really thought with Westbrook they were going to win a championship. And my takeaway is then why is their head coach, Billy Donovan, with the second biggest payroll in the sport, never in trouble? He can't win playoff games. And my takeaway is they know they couldn't win big with Westbrook.
Well, they may not have thought they were going to win a championship with Westbrook, but they certainly thought they'd be in contention. Remember, for the most part, Sam Presti has only known one thing as the GM in Oklahoma City: title contention. It's been that way forever. And as far as the coach, remember, look how long they went with Scott Brooks. Durant and people were bothered that Brooks wouldn't talk to Westbrook and coach up Westbrook to give up the ball late in games and things like that. And they stuck with Scotty Brooks maybe longer than they should have. I agree. Presti is about stability. Presti is about consistency. And that's one reason that Billy Donovan has such a long leash. So I think look, Presti knew with just Paul George and Westbrook, that might not be a team that last year was going to lead you to a championship, but it was a contender. And with some additions and tweaks here and there, I think he did believe they could get close to a championship, if not a championship. And the article you mentioned, it was a great article. He said it was like his dog died. It's also because of what Westbrook meant to that city. Remember, Colin, he saved that franchise. When Kevin Durant left, if Westbrook had demanded a trade or not signed that extension and wanted out as well, that franchise would have fallen apart. And so Presti knew once George wanted out, he knew Westbrook was next. And I think that was a big part of why he felt that way.
Were you shocked at all by the control Westbrook had in the organization, from basically mostly banning pregame interviews to telling the team when they could travel and not? It was very LeBron in Cleveland that Westbrook essentially would tell the GM, would tell the coach, would tell the roster when we're doing things, when we're not. Were you shocked by the level of control he had either accumulated or demanded in that city?
Well, Russ is a very strong personality. You know, he doesn't talk a ton. He's not like LeBron, as chatty as LeBron, but he is clearly a very strong personality. He's an alpha. And as great a GM as Sam Presti is, he's not confrontational with players. Billy Donovan, Scotty Brooks, not confrontational with players. So I can definitely see how a Westbrook could really take control of that franchise the way he did. I didn't know those details, but knowing his personality and knowing the personality of some of the leaders in Oklahoma City, it does not surprise me.
Ben Simmons got an extension. All I'm reading is it's a terrible deal. You know I like Simmons, but I do think he is going to struggle in terms of numbers you would expect for that contract going forward, because I think Philadelphia's messed up the rebuild, which is too many bigs. Simmons needs to score at the rim. The middle is going to be crowded with Horford and Embiid. They even drafted another big who can't shoot. I don't like the architecture of the roster, although I think it's wildly talented. What do you make of Simmons' contract, which most believe is a lot of money for a mostly unproven guy?
No, I like it. Look, I thought it was a no-brainer to max out Ben Simmons. Now, he does obviously have a lot of work to do, first, of course, and foremost on his jump shot. But there are other things. The reason I don't mind it is because he's tradable, I believe, okay? Even though he can't shoot, and you mentioned it with the bigs, a team may look at Ben Simmons and say, look, if I don't have bigs like that, if this doesn't work out in Philly, if I don't have bigs like that, I can have Ben Simmons running my team and penetrating the lane and doing damage that way. So I don't mind it. But there are concerns in this, Colin. I have to see more evidence that Ben Simmons loves basketball, okay? Because there is evidence, and we've seen it throughout the history of the league, sometimes when a guy gets at max money, he doesn't improve and doesn't really, that's because he doesn't love the game and he never reaches his potential. Here are a few things that make me wonder about Simmons. Number one, he didn't have a max contract. Number two, he hasn't won big, and he still wasn't working hard enough on his game. He still wasn't improving that jump shot. So now that he has money, will he work to improve? And he's not in the Lonzo Ball category, that extreme, but there are too many nights when he just doesn't bring it, when his motor is low. He can override his lack of a jump shot to some degree if he plays more aggressive and forces the action more, because he'll draw attention and he can pick apart the defense by passing to open teammates, or he can score over guys because he's 6'10". So I need to see a little more evidence that he loves the game, but I think this was the right thing to do. And you just watch it. I heard you mention Chris Paul. I mentioned Chris Paul last week on the show. I wouldn't do that deal now, but I would watch, have it in the back of my mind, watch how Chris Paul plays in Oklahoma City or wherever he goes, and watch how Simmons plays, improves, and his chemistry with Embiid on the court.
By the way, the over-unders came out. Clippers, 55.5 wins. I'm not sure if you have insight on this or not. Kawhi has acknowledged load management helped him be healthy by the end of the year. Do we have an understanding now? Clippers are not winning 55 games if Kawhi takes 20 off or 15 off. Has there been a discussion about Kawhi Leonard doing more load management? By the way, Paul George does a lot of what he does, so you could certainly see Kawhi taking 15, 20 games off. Do we know how many he's going to play?
No, we don't. And you wonder, the load management, remember last year, not only did he sit out the 22 games, not only was he a bit banged up in the playoffs, although he played through it, but he really wanted, he insisted on playing with a second star wherever he was going to go. That's why many people in the league still think had the Clippers not gotten Paul George, he would have gone to the Lakers because he really wanted that second star. So that shows you how important it is for him and how taxing last season was, even with the load management. So, yeah, I would expect some load management. But here's the thing, Colin. That Clippers team won 48 games last year without a star. Paul George will be playing when Kawhi is on load management. And remember, Toronto went 17-5, I believe, with Paul George sitting out, with Kawhi sitting out last year. So I think the Clippers will be able to win games even when Kawhi sits out. I don't think it'll be as high as 22 games, but we'll have to wait and see on that.
Chris Broussard, good talking to you, bud.
All right, Colin.
You bet. Our three issues today. A lot of NFL.